One of the things you see with teen engagement on these sites is that they've learned new techniques for talking to their friends. They're doing it at the same time that they're learning techniques for doing identity and for communication. Yes, they're messing up. Yes, they're dealing with the consequences of it. But that's also part of teen life in general. I mean, you know, especially when you get some of the dramas that play out so that are part of figuring out the social categories from middle school into high school. The same thing about who's popular, who's not. That's playing out, and it's filled with miscommunication, but it's filled with miscommunication in school and online. The thing that's really interesting, I've seen one study that sort of raises questions about how effective kids can be at reading certain kinds of facial expressions, and there's a huge question about that. Kids have figured they have totally different patterns for non-verbal communication online, not just the like smiley faces and goofiness, but also the ways in which they do temporal patterning, which is actually really critical to the communication. How long do you wait? What are the games that you're doing as you're sort of pausing and playing as for synchronous communication? There are a lot of questions. But again, one of the things I sort of push back on is that like, I'm not thrilled that kids are on these sites all the time, because I would much rather them be allowed out of the house. But that's not their problem. That's a much larger societal problem about why they're not being allowed out of the house. And I think that if we can get environments where they're allowed to go out and roam free much more, we'll get much more of the integrated. I do think that their ability to do the always on becomes really, really powerful. One of the things that we also know is that later into the evening, for whatever reasons, kids are much more willing to actually share some emotions. They do a lot more emotion work with their friends late at night, and that's almost always through mediated communication channels. And this is all, both with significant others and with same-sex peers. They do a lot of that working through in ways that they may not have been able to do prior to mediated environments, because they wouldn't be able to get together late at night. So there's sort of, it's totally changing the topology, and I think there are great opportunities for more research to be done in particularly the psychological range, but I don't think that there's enough known right now. There's just more question marks than there are answers at this point.